Right, welcome to part 12 of Project PAHOOT, where I try and make that fit in that. That is an engine, by the way. It says on it and everything. Right, we're back, and the engine is back in the workshop. Got the crank pulley bolt off. Didn't have to resort to extreme violence or psychology, just a bigger ugga-dugger. So the plan now is we're going to cam covers off, because I get the feeling I'm going to need to take these parts off as well, because I'm pretty sure there's a bolt or two bolts that go through here into the timing cover. So to get all that off, cam covers, top covers, and then this bad boy, and then I've got access to chop this off. And I think once it's off, I'm going to wrap the entire engine in stretch wrap. So I'm going to leave that timing cover off for the time. I'm not putting it back on until I've bought the timing kit. So I'm going to crack on with that. I've put the engine mounts back on. I mounted my little cotton reel engine mount, but the mounts on the chassis are going to have to be cut off anyway and potentially flipped over, because they sit at a different angle. I'll show you in a bit on that. But while I'm here and I'm doing some pre-MOT work on the old family wagon, I'm going to do a bit of measuring up of all the subframe mounts on this, because obviously it's a BMW, it's a 3 Series, just to see whether E90 bits will fit on the Scimitar. If not, I'll look at E46 or E36. But whilst this is here and it's up in the air, I'm going to get a tape measure out, make a few little notes, and then compare it against the chassis, and then I'll show you on the chassis what I mean about the engine mounts. So let's crack on. Cam covers came off beautifully. It's all looking really nice in here. There's a little bit of crap down here, which you'd expect in a little valley like that, but everything's looking really nice and clean. Cams look lovely, no wear on them. The chain is mint, you know, there's no slack at all in that. There's nothing really giving me any nightmares in there. So I just need to have a look down there and make sure that there aren't any additional bolts. I still think these are going to come off anyway, but they came off beautifully, nice and easy, so they're in good nick as well. So I'll probably get these cleaned up, paint them a different colour really rather than grey, make something nice. Yeah, this side's a little bit of crap again in the valley. I'll probably take the plugs out and give them a clean as well, but again, cams nice and tidy, no varnishing, no issues with the chain. It's been really well looked after, this. Right, let's give it a crack now, get this bad boy off. Okay, so if we look at the angle of these here from the front, they sit sort of like that, and they need to be sat like that because of the angle of where they come down from the engine. So my thought process is I'm just going to cut them along the welds anyway, because they're going to have to come back to here. But I'm figuring if I just cut them up, or cut them off, don't cut them up, I need them, cut them off, and then mount them that way or that way, so that whichever way the slot would need to be, it'll be it'll be a lot easier to visualise once I've cut them off and I bolt them to the engine. So when we lower the engine in to test it, it shows me where I need to put them. But I think just knocking them upside down will do the same job. Maybe use this surface here to mount onto there to weld on. Yeah, I think that if that was mounted this way and turned around that way so that it slopes up that way. No, it needs to slope that way, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting confused here. I'm trying to think upside down and backwards. So I'll get them cut off. I'll attach them to the engine, and then we'll go from there and see how it all works out. But let's get this timing cover off. That's not supposed to happen, is it? Well, I didn't need to undo this. These can stay on. I assumed that there was a through bolt from the top end into the main case, but you can't take this off without taking the timing tensioner off, which I'm not going to do yet because I'm still undecided about whether to actually do anything about the timing gear, because it looks absolutely mint. I mean, it's got the BMW marks on it, so it could well be original. I'm just looking for a date stamp on it actually, and I think 1998, so that's original. I think that's original because I can't see this engine being, well, it's no newer obviously. 98 pre-Vanos, so could well be. I thought it was out of a 96 car, but if it's out of a 98 car, they are the original guides and tensioners. So I'm still undecided. I may well do the kit, but other than that, it looks really, really, really clean in there. It's just a little bit of varnishing, but everything's really, you know, excellent condition. The oil pump chain is a little bit slack, but there doesn't appear to be a tensioner for that. Anyway, I think that's pretty much how it should be. This is nice and tight. Guides are undamaged. Everything's really, really, really nice. Chain's nice. So we'll leave it open for the time being. Whilst I get on with cutting this monstrosity off the side. I'm going to bolt that back on now, get that out of the way. It doesn't need to be touched. So I didn't even need to take the cam covers off, but I can always whack them back on. They take seconds. Now I know how good everything is. I may just leave them off for the time, but like I say, just stretch wrap the whole thing, stop any crap getting in there. And then if I do decide I am going to do the chain, all I've got to do is take these front covers off and away we go, it's all there. Right, let's tidy that back up and cut this great big pudding bowl off the side. Got my dimensions here for the rear subframe, so it is only approximate because I can't get in to measure it fully, but I've got a rough idea of the shape of it. It's like a parallelogram shape, so I can take these measurements and go off over to the chassis, it's over there, and see what kind of things I'm going to need to do. I get the feeling I'm probably going to need to add material rather than take material away to make it fit. So I'll do a measure up of that when I cut the engine mounts off. But let's say this is I'm just testing the waters while this is here. While I've got an E90 in front of me and it's got everything I need on it. Check it. Obviously, I'm not going to use this because this is my daily driver, and I think the brakes might be a little bit too big for a Scimitar. But everything seems to be, it's quite a compact setup. 540mm from front to back is, that's the mounting point. That's reasonably compact, and it's about 1 metre wide. So it's ideal. It's just. Didn't get the track width. I'll get the track width as well, but I think that'll be a major killer. It's probably why I will have to go down to an E46 or an E36 just to bring the track in. And it doesn't help, this has got steamroller tyres on the back, so it's going to be a bit probably a bit wide, but I'll have a look and see where it lands us. Okay, so I've managed to absolutely ream my battery doing that. So let me just shut Paul Rogers. It's always Paul Rogers, isn't it? It's always free. Yeah, I've managed to ream both my batteries doing this cutting, so it's quite a complex shape down here. I've got to make sure that I keep these two holes in the mix because they're the mounting for it. So I've got to try and cut down here, which I have done a bit, and then in this little valley here, in there is going to be a pain to cut. So I'm just going to shove a drill down there and drill a load of holes in it, Swiss cheese it a bit. Just going to finish cutting through there, and I should be able to just knock that off, give it a good talking to. If I've done enough cutting and enough weakening of all the bits around there, that should just break off, and then I can look at finessing everything, because I wanted to keep these mounting holes anyway, especially these two, because I should be able to mount an alternator or something, or a bracket for an alternator to them. And obviously the main holes are going to be here anyway, so I'm just going to try and, once I've got this off, we'll cut this nicely up here and then just sort of come across, maybe along here, keep that rib in for strength, but cut all this off here, and yeah, we'll just see how it goes. But I can't do any more today because my battery's dead, so I'll have to come back and visit it another time. So I'm tidying myself up and go home and have something to eat. Not got as far along as I wanted, but that seems to be par for the course with this, doesn't it? Right, we've done a bit more to the timing case. I didn't film it because, well, I did. I put my camera up on the shelf to film it and it ran out of storage without telling me. So none of it got filmed. So I've just sort of not bothered filming it since then, but you don't really want to see me grinding stuff. So we've chopped all the bowl off. I've done my best at smoothing all these little ribs down. That's still a bit sharp there, I'll sort that. But I've left these 3 upstands on. I'm not sure how strong that's going to be, to be fair. I think that might snap if it has the weight and pressure of an alternator on it. But what I have done is this little water passage here, which fed the alternator, so it comes through here, I've tapped and threaded that and put a little M10 grub screw in with a bit of a PTFE tape on it. I've not tested it for whether it holds water yet. I'm not bothered about that. I'll put a bung in if I need to, but that is a bit of future proofing, because rather than try and weld that up or just block it off or whatever, having that water passage there bodes well for the future. But if I decide at some point maybe to turbocharge this engine, because then I've got a water feed for my turbo, or turbos, depending on whether I fit 1 or 2. Depends how fruity I'm feeling. But it's done now, so it just needs a bit of a clean. So I'm going to get some degreaser or some oven cleaner, scrub it up, taking the front seal out. They're only cheap, so while it's here, chuck that on as well, give it all a good scrub up, and then once I've got the bits for the timing chain, which I've actually discovered you can just buy the guides. I don't think I need to change the chain, so I'm just going to change the guides. Chains are fine, maybe tensioners, and then I can whack that back on. Front of the engine sealed up, I can put the cam covers back on. Top of the engine sealed up, I just need to get the sump done then. But I'm happy now that this should fit into the chassis. That's the next thing I'm going to do, is cut the engine mounts off, which I still haven't done. I'm going to do that next, and then see how well it fits, or if it fits exactly where I want to. Tack those mounts back on, and then it's buggering off to get blasted. So we're moving slowly but surely. Here we go, it's all cleaned up, degreased up nicely. And I filled this passage up with water about 3 hours ago. And that's bone dry. So that'll do for me. It's nice and clean both sides as well. It's cleaned up nice with a bit of degreaser and a jet wash. So that can go back on once I've sorted the chains out. So that's another piece of the puzzle done. I'm going to now need to get the sump cleaned up. I'm going to do the same thing, degrease it, jet wash it. Then I can work out how to cut the underbite off and get a box sump welded onto it. The engine can pretty much go back together then. So next step is fitting. Happy days. so I've got the chassis back in the workshop and I've cut the engine mounts off, as you can see, cleaned it all up a bit. But the engine mounts are asymmetrical for some weird reason. I'm going to find somewhere to put them down so I can show you. There we go, and somewhere that's actually clear. So these are the two engine mounts. We stand them up. They're not the same. So I can't even flip into a way that will work. See, look, they're all sorts. They're proper higgledy-piggledy. I need them. They were that way. I need them that way. But they're not going to work as they are. So I'm going to try them on and just lower it down roughly into the chassis, the engine, and then I may have to put some little bits of box section in or just make my own mounts. But the main thing is now I've got the timing covers off, that we can make that fit in there, and that's what I'm aiming to do next. So next thing I'm going to do, get the car, get it up in the air, get me little marker beam across here for the back of the flywheel, and then Robert is your father's brother. So in my case he actually is, so let's crack on. Okay, so we've got it, engine not even slightly in place, but I'm seeing some potential issues. How close the cylinder head is to this upright section here of the chassis where the shock towers go. Obviously it needs to flatten out a bit, but that is as far back as I can have the well, that line there is as far back really as I should be having the back of the engine because of the bulkhead, without me having to cut it. If I have to cut it and I have to move this further back, then I will. It also appears to be significantly wider. Look at these mounts here, they're going to sit sort of on the outside, so there'll be a bit of wiggling and jiggery pokery. It's not quite central yet, so I'm going to take this out. Excuse me. I'm going to take that out and then try and swing the engine in, because as you can see here, the front of the engine here, where the timing drive and the oil pump is literally going to interfere with this chassis member here, which I don't really want to cut out, but if I have to, I will do. But I think even if I do cut it out and this drops down here, these cylinder heads are going to interfere with these uprights, these legs. So the engine's going to have to go backwards, and I do some saw-based buggery with the bulkhead. So I'm going to whip that metal out the way, and then we'll swing the engine down into a rough position and get an idea of where I can put it. I want it as close to the front as possible without hitting anything. I've got to take into account the timing cover is going to be on, so this surface here is pretty much the face. So I think the pulley is going to end up sitting over this beam here, sitting over this chassis leg, or the part of the chassis. It's not a leg, is it? So I didn't expect it to be easy, but I'll keep plodding on. I'll keep thumping away at it and see where it gets me. We'll get it into a position where it looks like it's going to fit, and then go from there. I think we'll have to just make the engine fit and then make everything else work around it, bodywork and all that. Beauty is the body's fiberglass. I can cut that and make all sorts of changes to it and not really affect anything. You know, I might have to move a heater box, I might have to move a wiper motor or something, but I can live with that because I've got a V8. Right, let's do a bit more moving and get this in place. Okay, so that is the mock-up position. We've got a good gap here, it's about 20 mil, and it's probably needs to shove that way a bit, but we've got a gap between the cylinder head and the shock towers. Puts the pulley right here, so I'm well clear of the steering rack. I can't physically come any further forward because obviously them towers are in the way, so we're now a fair way back, probably about, there's the mark, and getting on for 100 mil further back. So yeah, I think there's going to be some bulkhead choppage going on, but it'll go in and the gearbox will go in. I'm going to bring the gearbox over and just place it there, even though it's not going to be in the right position. But I've got plenty of room to put a sump in, so I can adapt the sump, put my box sump on. Mounts, I may end up having to completely redo these mounts and just, you know, some box section mounts off here. You know, I've still got the cotton reels anyway, but we know there it's going to fit, and then obviously I'm going to have to deal with the inner arches and everything here for headers and stuff, but again, that's all fiberglass. You can just chop it. I'll probably chop a load of it out anyway because there's that much weight there, being old school fiberglass, that I could probably lose a load of it and not have to worry. It don't need structural rigidity. The body is of no structure whatsoever. So I'm happy that we've got it in, or nearly in. Got a bit further than I thought. I'll pop the gearbox behind it, see what it looks like, and then go from there. Happy days. Okay, so I've put the gearbox roughly in place where it should be. Everything's obviously going to be lower because this is all too high at the moment. The engine's going to be sat down from this. Is just, you know, dropped further down. You notice how far back the gearbox sits now. So a good sort of estimation here is this is the front wheel arch ends here, or around about here. There's all your suspension, so your pedals are about here. So I've put my little my board in here, so if I'm sitting here with my feet on the pedals there, I'm trying not to push too much, my gear lever is quite far back, so I'm going to have to shorten that down. Obviously that's probably going to move a bit closer, but ideally the lever needs to be somewhere around here. So that's going to be a job for, because otherwise I'm going to be sat back here. I mean, virtually in the back. The back seats go sort of up against this here, so I'm going to be sat here. But everything roughly translates to, I'm quite long-legged, so my seat's going to be about here, but I definitely don't want to be craning my arm back here to get at that, so that needs to be here. I need to be, so I mean, it's possible to shorten all this lever up. You know, you can just move this pivot point 150mm, 200mm close. You can actually put it on top of that knuckle, and do away with this part. But that will be a lot of working out. So it's just sat roughly in position at the moment, and but I definitely cannot put the engine any further forward than it is. So those massive cylinder heads are going to interfere. So it's going to be a lot of reworking and finessing and high-class bodgery going on to make it work. But we'll get there. I'll get it working. By hook or by crook, it will work. Now I'm going to tidy this lot up, get some measurements, and start the next thing, which will probably be the sump. Fun, fun, fun. Right, so the engine and everything's back out again, and I've made marks on the chassis. You might not be able to see them there. I've just made little pinhole marks with me punch. There you go. So I can see now, excuse my hand for a second, what kind of distance we're looking at between. Let's see, let me do it off the 100mm mark. So there we go. 89mm we're looking. So we're on the 100 mark there. It's about, it's very difficult to film this and do it at the same time, but yeah, 100mm, yeah. There's your pin mark there. There's the original mark at the 100, so the engine's 89mm further back than I originally anticipated. So obviously that has a knock-on effect. Gearbox is now 89mm further back, so that's going to be at least 89mm I have to take out of the shift linkage, possibly more. But so I'm going to go and do some working out against the body. Probably work out where the bulkhead is relative to this, and then I know how much space I've got and whether I actually need to. I get the feeling I'm probably going to have to cut the bulkhead more at the top here, where it comes up flat and bows out, where the heater panel and everything is. So that's going to need more cutting than anything. I did also notice when I was looking at the engine that, obviously I mentioned before, this is the front outrigger where the body sits on, the arch starts here, but number 4 cylinder exhaust outlet was here, so that's potentially going to have to come down rather than coming down this way. Like if it had been here, you could have swept them out and down under the I know on the original car they came underneath here, they came down and then just straight along the chassis here. So I'm going to have to, obviously going to fit custom manifolds anyway, but the manifolds are going to have to pretty much come out at 90 and go straight down through the chassis here, and then work it out from there, whether there ends up being a section cut out here for pipe to come through, because I'm going to want an X pipe in it anyway. I want the two banks to merge, so you get the proper V8 sound because the exhaust system that was on this originally, there was no X-pipe in it. It was basically 2 banks of 3 cylinders running straight down through a single box at each end. So, but that's a long way in the future, the exhaust, but it's just something to think about. So at least I've got an idea of what I need to do now. I can start looking at getting this thing off for a good blasting. I did notice another hole here when I was scratching this bit of chassis off. I've made that hole there being sloppy whilst cutting off the engine mount, but I will just plate all that. That'll be easy enough. This is going to have to go. I've noticed as well, this where the flywheel sits here, once the engine is dropped down by at least 50 mil, which is the thickness of that box section I had it on, the flywheel's pretty much going to touch that. But that's an original gearbox mount anyway. That's surplus to requirements now. That can be unbolted and thrown away. And the old one there as well, that needs to come off. I've got a few bits and bobs still to take off it. Got a few bits I noticed I've missed off when I was cutting. Like I missed this brake line off. Got to take these wishbone mounts off, and I'll blast them separately or tumble them, make a tumbler out of an old cement mixer. Yeah, I've got to cut these bits off here that I'm assuming they're stops to stop the axle dropping too far down. Most of that's probably end up going anyway if the BMW axle ends up going on. All of that is useless. This will be strengthened up. I've got a load of box section in the shed that I'm going to put into here, because I mean that is just literally 90-degree section. There's no real strength in that. I mean this is only a boot floor anyway. It's not structural. All this is box, and obviously that bit there as well. So I will beef all that up with a view to fitting that BMW rear end, but I've got to buy that first, which means I've got to sell some things. So the alternator's got to go, not gone yet. Power steering pump's got to go, the wheels have got to go, front seats, and anything else I can find I can get rid of, and I can start looking at doing the welding work to this once I've managed to find someone. Just waiting for a reply back about getting this blasted back to nothing, and then I've got a fresh base to work from. I can weld stuff on and cut stuff off and coat it myself to stop it rusting in the meantime before it goes off for either galvanising or powder coating. But that's going to do for this one. Not doing any more until the next time. So it's been a labour of love, this episode has, to be fair. It's taken this is many weeks of work, even though doesn't look like it. But we live to fight another day, so I'll see you next time. Ta-ra.